Welcome to episode 9 of Sketchup episode series. In today's episode, we'll be creating the second option for the side table. For the side table, I am taking the length as 2 foot and the depth as 1 foot 6 inches, making sure the lines are drawn properly along the axis. Once the rectangle of this size is created, right-click on it and group the rectangle. Now, use the push-pull tool and give it a height of, say, 1 feet 6 inches. Now, select all the 4 sides of the bottom edge together. Use the copy tool and copy them upward by 1.5 inches. Then, push them inward to create the skirting of the side table. Now, copy the bottom line upward by 0.8 inches, following the design shown in the reference image. Similarly, select the top lines together and copy them downward by 0.8 inches. To create the curved corners, draw an arc, copy both arcs to the opposite side, and use the flip tool to mirror them. Then, use the push-pull tool to pull the curved sections down and reveal the rounded corners. To create the circular profile, first draw a line to define the height. Then use the arc tool to shape the curved profile. Once the profile is complete, delete the extra lines so only the required shape remains. Finally, select the Follow Me tool, click on the profile, and run it along the entire bottom edge to create a smooth, continuous rounded molding. Once the profile completes the full round, carefully join both ends together to create a smooth, seamless finish. Repeat the same process for the top section. Draw a line, create the profile using the arc tool, and once it's ready, use the Follow Me tool to run it around all 4 sides, creating a continuous rounded edge. To create the drawers, draw a center line and copy it by 0.2 inches to show the partition thickness. Then, use the push-pull tool to push the partition inward slightly, giving the drawers a more realistic separated look. To create the center detail, take the middle partition and copy it 3 inches on both sides. Then, delete the original center line so the pattern matches the reference design. Now, copy these 2 newly drawn lines upward as shown in the picture. Now, let's create the fluted paneling. Start by selecting the side edge and copy it 0.2 inches inward. Since the model is grouped, keep clicking until you enter the correct group, otherwise that might give a problem afterwards. Next, draw a rectangle over it and group it separately. Grouping it now will make it much easier to copy, edit, and position the flutes later without affecting the rest of the model. After that, draw an arc at the bottom of the rectangle to create the flute profile. Then use the push-pull tool to extrude the profile upward, forming the complete fluted strip. Now, let's create the fluted panels. Keep copying the flutes one by one, or copy them in groups to speed up the process. Once one side is complete, select all the flutes together and copy them to the remaining 3 sides. If anything looks misaligned after copying, simply use the scale or move tool to adjust it and place it correctly. Now, create the handles. Since the side table is already grouped but the handles aren't, hold Ctrl and select both handles, then also select the side table. Finally, right-click and group them together so everything becomes a single group. Now, let's add textures to give the model a more realistic look. Download the required textures from Google, then open the Paint Bucket tool and go to the Materials panel. Click Create Material, import the downloaded texture from your gallery, and apply it to the object. If the texture doesn't look right, simply import a different one and apply it until you're happy with the final appearance. For an even better look, you can fine-tune the material's color using the color wheel to adjust its tone before applying it. For the handles, open the Inkscape material library and apply a metallic material type to the texture. Once you are done selecting the metal you want to apply, import the selection and when done, close to further apply. Now that the material has been imported, select the handles and open the Paint Bucket tool. You'll find the imported material there. You can also adjust the tone of the color, and for that use the color wheel and achieve the look you want. And then finally apply it. Also, apply a black color to the small gap between the drawers. This adds depth and enhances the separation. Now, similarly import the downloaded countertop texture from your gallery and apply it to the countertop. Now, to give all the materials a more realistic finish, open the Inkscape Material Editor along with the Paint Bucket tool. Use the Sample Paint tool to select the material you want to edit. Then, in the Material Editor, adjust properties like roughness, metallic, and specular until you achieve the desired look. Repeat the same process for the remaining materials. Now, let's open the model in Inkscape and take a look at the final result. As you can see, the side table has a clean and realistic finish. That completes both side table design options. Also, a quick note. In one of the previous episodes of Sketchup, I showed you how to use an image as a background. The drawback of that method is that you can't move, scale, or edit the image. In this tutorial, I imported the reference image directly into the workspace, rotated it to align properly, and used it as a reference. This method allows you to move, scale, and adjust the image whenever needed, making it much more convenient. Use whichever method works best for your workflow. That wraps up both side table designs. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and found it easy to follow. Happy learning! Thank you for watching. We'll see you all in the next episode, where we'll learn how to design a TV unit with a dressing table in SketchUp.